Hari Om. We are doing Atmabodha. We will do 3 Oms and Sahana Vavatu and then Guru Stotram, and we'll start the text. Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Stotram. Akhanda mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darsitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. Ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Stavaram Jangamam Yaptam, Yatkinchis Sajaracharam, Tatpadam Darsitam Yena, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam vyapiyat sarvam trailokyam sacharacharam tatpadam darsitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva vidya dravidam tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Tvameva sarvam Gurudeva deva. Hari Om. We started the Atmabodha class, Atmabodha by Shankara Bhagavatpada, and in the first few slokas, Shankara covers the essence of the jnana, starting with who is qualified for this text as well as who is qualified for this Atmabodha, which is Jnana Bodha. And the qualifications of the student is in terms of his Chitta Suddhi, and the Chitta Suddhi can be acquired through tapas, by means austerities, and following karma yoga and bhakti yoga or upasana yoga, one can purify the mind. So there are 4 essential qualifications for study of Atmabodha or Adhyatmabodha, and that is Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti and Mumutshutvam. So those who have the requisite qualifications, Mumutshunam apechoyam Atmabodho vidhiyate. So this text is for those who have already acquired. The fact that you are able to listen and want to listen is a litmus test that you have at least some of the required qualifications to continue the studies. And the degree of purity depends upon how one can understand this as a fact rather than just as a thought, as paroksha jnanam rather than aparoksha jnanam. And Shankara talks about that knowledge alone can give the liberation. says bodhaha anya sadhanebhyo hi sakshat mokshaika sadhanam. It's in the second sloka. And vina moksho na siddhyati. Moksha na siddhyati. So without knowledge you cannot gain the moksha, liberation. So moksha is the freedom from all limitations. One cannot really gain it in the sense that it is not something to gain, but something to understand. Therefore, it is the jnanam becomes a means of knowledge. There is no other sadhana other than reality, knowing the reality that I am the reality. So that's Atmabodha itself is the moksha sadhanam, and itself is Atma eva bodha. It is the nature of the knowledge itself. And therefore, jnanam alone is the means for liberation. That's what he established in the second sloka. And what about the karma? Because we have karma yoga and jnana yoga. So karma yoga is not the one that gives you the moksha, but it is still required to prepare the mind for jnana yoga. So moksha sadhana, for sadhana, moksha, for jnana yoga, yogyata, karma yoga becomes a means. Why karma cannot give the moksha? That is addressed in the third sloka. Because avirodhitaya karma na avidyam vinivartayet. Because the fundamental problem is identified as the ignorance. Therefore, ignorance cannot be removed by action. By performing an action, I cannot gain a knowledge. It may be prerequisite in order to gain a knowledge, but itself does not give. Just as he said in the previous sloka, pakasyavas vaknivat jnanam. Just as fire is required for cooking, all other auxiliaries and everything else are preparatory, but what cooks ultimately is the fire. In the same way, what gives the moksha or knowledge is only what gives the liberation or removes the ignorance is only the jnanam, and karma cannot do. Why? There are several reasons can be mentioned. One is karma is finite, and moksha is freedom from all finites or notion of finiteness. Therefore, that is infinite. The Brahmatvam is infinite, and infinite cannot be gained by a finite action, because finite action only gives you finite result, and finite result or series of finite results can only give you only a finite total entity, cannot give infinite. Therefore, karma being a finite, karma phala is also finite. Therefore, it cannot give you the infinite that what moksha represents. And the second aspect of it is karma itself is born of ignorance. So it cannot be opposing to ignorance. It's only because of ignorance, I take myself what I am not, and what I am not as I am taking myself as I am the body, mind and intellect, and body, mind and intellect are limited, and I don't like, because my nature is infinite, when I take myself a finite body, mind and intellect, I do not like that finiteness aspect of it. So I try to make it infinite by adding finite things. That's what is the karma is. I perform an action to gain happiness, and I get this action, that action, so its whole life becomes a rat race, because I'm trying to become an infinite, absolute happiness, limitless happiness, and that I cannot do by performing any action, because action itself is a product of ignorance. So therefore, the karma is not virodhi. So avirodhitaya karma. So avidyam na vinivartayet. So what can deliver vidya avidyam nihancheva tejas timirasangavatu? Only the light, just as the light only can remove the ignorance, and knowledge alone can be opposite to the ignorance. Therefore, knowledge alone can remove the ignorance. And the third aspect of it is Karma depends upon me. I had to do kartum sekyum, akartum sekyum, anyadha kartum sekyum. I can do, I cannot do, or I can do in a different way. So therefore, karma depends on the karta. Whereas that is Purushatantram. Karma is Purushatantram, means I had to do it. I had to make an effort. If I don't make an effort, then the action cannot be performed to its best. Therefore, the karma, even though karma phalam doesn't depend upon me, karma phalam depends upon the type of karma I do, but the karma itself depends on me. Whereas the knowledge is not a Purushatantram. I cannot will the knowledge. It's not in my control. All I can do is prepare myself so that I can study, but Goddess Saraswati has to depend on me. She will come provided my mind is prepared to receive her, because she is ever present. Therefore, the jnanam is never a Purushatantram. It doesn't depend upon, I cannot will the knowledge to come, but I can prepare myself so that the knowledge can come, provided I am fit student or my mind is conducive to receive the knowledge. Therefore, karma itself can never deliver the goods, only the jnanam alone, moksha sadhanam. And in the next sloka, he mentions that how am I going to know that I know it or I have gained that knowledge? Is there a test for it? Is there a way to know that the Atma is revealed? It says, Swayam prakashati Atma. It is self-shining. What is that I had to do is only remove the ignorance by proper knowledge. When that happens, the self-shining Atma reveals itself. Just as Megha Payom Simaniva, just as the clouds are covering the sun. Actually, clouds can never cover the sun. But I cannot see the sun because I say clouds are covering the sun. How do you know the clouds are covering the sun? I can see what? I can see that the clouds are covering so that I cannot see the sun. So how am I able to see these clouds? In the sunlight only. So in the sunlight, I am seeing the clouds that are covering the sun, because of which I cannot see the sun. Very peculiar situation. And exactly the same way, ignorance as though covering the sun, because clouds as though are covering the sun. Ignorance as though is covering Atma. And this ignorance can be removed. That means it's localized. Light, who is right under the clouds, cannot see the sun. The fellow who is far away in different place, he can see the sun because there are no clouds above his head. So same way, ignorance who is right under, because of the ignorance that I have, and due to my own ignorance, I cannot see, because I don't know myself, I cannot see the Atma, the self that is shining. How do you know this Atma? I can partially see it because I know I am existent and I know I am conscious, and what I don't know is I am Ananda Swarupa. So nobody is looking for existence, nobody is looking for consciousness, everybody is looking for happiness only. And we think happiness is out here, out there, out there. So we are going after for searching for happiness. And the Vedanta says your nature itself is limitless, and that is you are Brahman. Therefore, you are Ananda Swarupa. That part is covering. So therefore, the partial covering of that, because of which I am conscious of my consciousness, I am conscious of my existence, but I am not conscious of my full nature. And that is what is required in the Jnanam. So Jnanam will remove my notion of parichinnatvam. Parichinnat means I am a localized, this body, this mind, this intellect. That notional, the limitations that I impose myself due to the ignorance, that will be removed by Jnanam. Just as when the clouds are removed by the winds, then what happens? What should I do in order to see the sun? Sun is self-revealing. It reveals itself because they are all the time present, whether the clouds are there, whether the clouds are not there. In the exactly same way, it says, Swayam Prakashaha Atma. He Atma, indeed, Atma is self-shining. So if there is a light, I don't need another torchlight to see sun. Sun is self-revealing. Same way, Atma becomes self-revealing because it is Swayam Prakasham. It is Jyotir Jyotihi, Swayam Jyotihi. It is the light of all lights and it is self-shining entity. In fact, consciousness entities, self-conscious entity is only self-existent and self-shining entity. This is where we stopped last time. We will take up the sloka 5. You should have your books, Atmabodha. We are doing sloka 5. And please chant with me. Ajnana kalusham jivam. Ajnana kalusham jivam. Jnanabhyasadvinirmalam. Jnanabhyasadvinirmalam. Krutva jnanam swayam nasyet. Krutva jnanam swayam nasye jalam katakarenuvatu. Jalam katakarenuvatu. Together. Ajnana kalusham jivam jnanabhyasadvinirmalam. Krutva jnanam swayam nasye jalam katakarenuvatu. Jivam Ajnana Kalusham. So it's this notional, I am a Jiva. If you ask anybody, says, I know myself. What? What are you? Then I'll introduce, I am this. So whole my knowledge, whole my life is my introduction, my biodata, all that is, I think I know myself and I am this. So the very statement shows the ignorance. How? Because I am an existent entity and I am a conscious entity, and any this is unconscious entity or inert entity. So the very fact that I am this, all my biodata, I am introducing myself, I am son and so, I am this, I am an engineer, I am a doctor, all blah, blah. We try to introduce ourselves, all that is inert, and I am a self-conscious, I am existent conscious entity. I am trying to equate a conscious entity with unconscious entity, and that is essence of, or the manifestation that I am ignorant. So, who says that I am ignorant? The very fact that I do not know myself and I take the limitations of the body, mind, the intellect as myself, and therefore I suffer the consequence of those limitations. That nobody says I am Brahman. Everybody says I am this only, and that is the ajnanam. Whole jivam, the life itself is going through with that notional understanding that I am this. So, and how can that be removed? Jnana abhyasadvinirmalam. So by jnana abhyasa, by practice of jnanam, he says, which is vinirmalam. So pure eternal nature of that is that knowledge, abhyasa, this kalusham, the dirt that is in ajnana kalusham, the ignorance which is essentially a dirt superimposed on me, can be removed by jnana abhyasa. Krutva jnanam swayam nasye jalam katakarenuvatu. By removing the ignorance, the knowledge removes the ignorance, and in the process both the knowledge and ignorance gets dissolved. So this is a very interesting statement, because a lot of people have questions. People, particularly those who are exposed to J. Krishnamurti teachings, says, if you look at that, says, how can jnanam eliminate ignorance? And what happens to the jnanam? Jnanam is another kind of conditioning. That's what he talks about. Because my mind is conditioned due to my ajnanam. Because I take myself, I am this. Because I am conditioned from my birth on. Therefore, I have to uncondition myself. That was his statement. If you look at J. Krishnamurti's philosophy, he says, you have to uncondition yourself. How do I uncondition myself? If you ask that question to JK, he will tell you, don't ask that question. because any process that you want to do itself becomes another conditioning. Therefore, you are only removing one conditioning with another conditioning. So then what you want to do is uncondition yourself. Therefore, any sadhana by this explanation is going to be another bondage. So you're replacing, according to him, an iron shackles with the golden shackles. But still, it is a bondage. Therefore, how am I going to, any sadhana is never going to bring me a liberation. But here, we have to understand this. When you say, so what is the procedure, if J. Krishnamurti asks you, what is the procedure I should do in order to do uncondition my mind? Those who have read this will say that you have to observe your mind. The very observation of the mind will uncondition the mind. That's a statement. Very, very beautiful statement to say. But now we can ask the question, who has to observe the mind? Does the mind observe the mind, or something else has to observe the mind? So this is a question that if the mind itself is to observe the mind, so which mind? A conditioned mind has to observe the conditioned mind. A peculiar situation. And in the process, it gets unconditioned. Whereas Vedanta says, no, you have to uncondition. Impurities first has to be removed by karma yoga, by bhakti yoga, by the yogic process only, vasana yoga. You can remove the unconditioned. It is like using a thorn to using a needle, sharp needle to remove a thorn. Sharp needle is also, you don't want it, but you need it in order to remove the thorn. So it is used, and once the thorn is removed, both the needle and the thorn are thrown away. You are free from neither the needle nor the thorn. In the same way, here is Shankara gives an example, Krutva jnanam swayam nasye jalam katakarenuvatu. So here I am trying to develop, I am removing all other vasanas by gaining adhyatma vasana. By attending the scriptural studies, I am gaining another type of vasana, Shastra vasana. But Shastra vasana has to eliminate the other vasanas. Together I am clean of all vasanas. And that exactly is the nature of this knowledge. Now, on any other knowledge, I am going to gain vasanas only. But in this Adhyatma vasana, this purifies the other. Together, this so-called jnanam, shastra jnanam, as well as the ajnanam of my own self get eliminated, leaving myself, I am pure Satchidananda Swarupam. Here, the elimination has to be understood as elimination is recognition that it is only mithya, it is not real. Neither the ignorance is real, nor the knowledge that eliminates ignorance is also real. But at the transactional purposes where I consider myself I am ignorant, then knowledge has to come, and the knowledge removes my notional ignorance, leaving me as I am before, as pure Satchidananda Swarupam. So this process has to be understood. It is a process of elimination of the ignorance that I superimpose myself, and both the ignorance and the jnanam both are eliminated, and Atma is free from both ignorance and knowledge. Also, we need to look at it more carefully. Pure Atma has no ignorance. So this is all a notion for a jiva who thinks I am ignorant. So the whole process is only at the transactional level, who considers himself I am a jiva. Therefore, he has to be re-educated. I am not this jiva. I am pure Satchidananda Swarupam. That jnanam only removes that. But from the point of Satchidananda Swarupam Atma, it is ever pure and never impure. So jnanam as well as the ajnanam, both are at the vyavaharika level only. From the paramarthika level, that is from the point of pure Atma, there is no jnanis or ajnanis, because ekameva advitiyam, it is one without a second. So this knowledge process is required to eliminate the ignorance, not to reveal the self, but eliminate the ignorance, because self is self-revealing. And therefore, krutva jnanam swayam nasyet, it itself get lost in the process. Once I discover I am, then I say I was never ignorant. And that understanding will come only when the ignorance and the knowledge both are recognized as mithya. So that's why Shankara says, Jagat Satyam, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaivana. So the second aspect, the Jagat is essentially mithya, has to be understood, and in the process of mithya, it is neither real nor unreal. And that is essentially when the destruction of Swayam Nasyet. And here he gives an example, Jalam Katakarena Vatu. As you see in every sloka, he is giving some example, worldly example that we are familiar with, which can be applied into this knowledge. So in olden days, when the water is impure, particularly after the rains and all that, when the rivers are all become muddy, so that purification process of that water is involved. At that time they used to put a kataka nut powder on top of the water that is collected in the pots. So the kataka nut powder has a peculiar property. It floats and slowly it absorbs the water and it becomes heavy and sinks to the bottom. As it starts sinking, it picks up all the dirt or particles also. So together the nut powder as well as the dirt goes down, leaving the water completely pure. Water by nature is pure. The impurity is only superimposition. So therefore you superimpose something else on top of it, and which is opposite to previous one, or which can eliminate the previous one, and together they get eliminated. Jalam Katakareno Vatu. Just as Katakareno removes the impurities in the water and leaving the water as pure. Therefore, jnana abhyasadvi nirmalam. So purity is obtained by jnana abhyasa. That's what the sloka meant. Now we'll ask second question. It says jnana abhyasa. Jnana abhyasa means practice of knowledge. What is practice of knowledge? Knowledge has to be understood. So what does practice means? So I can practice some exercise and all that, but what does practice of knowledge means? It means here, when I study the scriptures by Shravana and Manana, but is by listening to the teacher, who can explain to me in the way that I can understand, and through constant reflection on the teaching, once I eliminated all the doubts that I have gained in principle knowledge. But at the same time, the knowledge has not become internalized. That means it has not become as factual. It remained as though it is paroksha jnanam. Paroksha means pratibandhika jnanam, the one which has still obstructions. The reason is my mind is not prepared still, is not purified enough. Therefore, even though I understand that I am Satchidananda Swarupam, I forget that understanding during my transactions and then get involved in the transactions because of remnant ragadveshas. Or the likes and dislikes are still remaining because my mind is not purified. So when I am transacting in the world, this knowledge also I understood that I am Satchidananda Swarupam. That understanding is not operational during my transactions. Therefore, I had to do jnana abhyasa. Practice. How do I practice? Keep remembering that I am Satchidananda Swarupam. That means my mind should constantly shift into the attention that I am my true nature. Shifting, I am none of this, there are in me, but I am none of this. I am something beyond. And that understanding that I have gained through Shravanam and Mananam, I have to keep memory or smarana of that all the time. That is abhyasa. Therefore, Krishna says, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena sa krishnate. These are the two things Krishna repeats again and again. Says Abhyasa and Vairagya. And those are essential for internalizing the knowledge that I have gained through Sravanam and Mananam. And this is called Nididhyasanam. So Jnana Abhyasa here is essentially a Nididhyasanam required for those whose minds are not completely pure, and therefore the knowledge is not available all the time. So once that is clear, the water is, just as the water is left perfectly clear, Atma is no more impurities. That means I have no more notions that I am this. All notional misunderstandings or drops out. So that's what is implication of Jnana Abhyasa. So Ajnana Kalusham Jivam Jnana Abhyasadvi Nirmalam Krutva Jnanam Swayam Nasyet Jalam Katakarena Vatu. So in the process, we understand people cause confusion because of not clearly understanding what exactly the knowledge does and what exactly sadhana is. Sadhana is required for purification, and knowledge alone delivers the goods, and you need the knowledge, and to gain the knowledge you have to prepare the mind. Preparation of the mind is sadhana is involved, where karma is required. So what is that state of mind when it is pure? And at that time, I recognize I am akartaham, abhoktaham, ahamevaham avyeha. I am never a doer nor an enjoyer. I am pure Satchidananda Swarupam. That understanding sinks in even when I am performing actions in the world. That is karmani akarmayah pasyetu akarmani cha karmayaha saha buddhiman manushyeshu saha yuktaha krishna karma kratu. Krishna tells in the 4th chapter, says, even while performing the action, I can stand apart and look myself, I am pure Atma. And maya adhyakshena prakriti suyati sacharacharam. And in my presidentship, all the actions are being done, because actions are being done by the prakriti, and my presence is only, I am blessing the prakriti, and I am myself not really involved. So in karmani akarmayaha pasyetu saha buddhiman manushyeshu. The one who sees himself, I am never a doer, while the doing actively going on. And that is the nature of a Jivanmukta. So that is one of the beautiful slokas of Atmabodha. So next we'll take next sloka, that is the sloka 6. Samsara swapna tulyo hi samsara swapna tulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha ragadveshadi sankulaha swakale satyabadbhati swakale satyabadbhati prabodhe satyasadbhavet prabodhe satyasadbhavet. Together, samsara swapna tulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha swakale satyabadbhati prabodhe satyasadbhavet. Samsara is my transactions through here the waking world. So here talk about waking samsara. So there is a beautiful analysis by the Upanishads provide. Most scientific analysis is provided in the Mandukya Upanishad. It says there, I have 3 states of consciousness. So any analysis of the reality or the truth can be incomplete at the best or erroneous unless I take all the facts into consideration. So any scientist has to take all the data in order to analyze the system to find out what is the truth. In the same way, Vedanta does exactly this. He takes the experience of not only the waking state and the dream state as well as the deep sleep state, that is all the 3 experiences that a human being goes through every day. That is the total data has to be analyzed clearly to arrive what is the essence of the whole samsara. So I have a waking world, I have a dream world, I have a deep sleep world as though, and I am going through every day from one world to the other world. This is called avastha, this waking state, dream state and a deep sleep state, and I am a waker in the waking state, transacting in the waking world. So the samsara of the waking world, all those dualities that I am transacting in the waking world, I am performing as a waker. And when I go to dream, I have a dream world. The dream world as though is created, where I myself enter into the dream world as one jiva and transacting with the world of plurality there in the dream world, and I have my own samsara there in the dream world. And when I go to deep sleep state, it's another world where there are no objects for me to perceive, where the mind itself to interact is not there, but the world is still there, because when I get up in the morning, I slept very well. That is, I was there in the deep sleep state, sleeping and recognizing the absence of everything there, including my own self as the jiva. So therefore, I have three worlds, three states of experiences and three input data, and this is a samsara. So samsara in each state is there, and the total thing given I'm moving from one state to other state is also samsara. So here Shankara analyzes here samsaraha swapnatulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha. Just as in the dream, swapnatulya means as though it is a dream. In the dream, when I'm going through all my problems in the dream, and I have samsara there where I am suffering, enjoying all those things just as I am enjoying here, due to ragadveshas. Ragadveshas is likes and dislikes, due to vasanas. So ragadveshas is propelling me. I am gaining happiness in my dream, I am getting unhappiness, I am getting suffering. All those things are happening in the dream world because of the ragadveshas. So swapnatulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha. It is a mixture of the raga and dvesha that propel me to interact and enjoy the world that is there, and that becomes a samsara, because I am going up and down. Whenever things come that I like, I am happy. Whenever things come I don't like, then I am unhappy. Those states of happiness, unhappiness, I am fluctuating in that world. So in each world, just as in the dream world, I am going through all this process. In fact, in the Mandukya, the definition for the waking state and the dream state exactly run parallel. It says, Jagariti sthano the bahiprajnaha saptangaha ekona vimsati mukaha. Says there are 19 gateways that I interact with the world outside. This statement is done both for the waking state as well as the dream state, where I have 19 gateways, that is 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, pancha pranas, and these mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. Together 19 gateways through which I am interacting with the world, experiencing the pleasures and pains due to my ragadveshas. So therefore, in the dream state I am going through, but when I get up from the dream, I say, oh, that's not real. Who says that's not real? A waker says about the dream world. A dreamer doesn't say it's not real when he's dreaming or when he's experiencing the dream. So when I am in the dream state, the tiger that is chasing me is real tiger. And if you say, yeah, this is all mithya, that won't help me because I am running away from the tiger to save myself. You can get all the philosophy later, but first I have to save myself, because the tiger that is chasing me is very real. So therefore, for me, as a dreamer, the dream world is real, and only I say it is not real when I wake up from that state. to waking world. Now I find myself in the air-conditioned room in the Dunlop bed, comfortably sleeping. I was not in the forest, there is no tiger anywhere, there's nothing of that. All that now, when I remember my dream, I say, oh, that's not real. The statement is made by a waker, not by a dreamer. In the same way, I think this is real. Which one? The waking world is real. Why? Because I am in this waking world suffering through raga dveshas. Same likes and dislikes I am going through the samsara. But when the Vedanta says you have to awaken to the next state of consciousness to really recognize this is also samsara swapnatulyohi. It is just like a dream. So here we are comparing the dream world and the waking world, and from that we are gathering a data. Says just as when I am awakened to the waking state, the dream world is dismissed as not real. In the same way, when I am awakened to the higher state of consciousness, as though when I gain the knowledge, then I look at this world is swapnatulyohi. It is just like a dream. Sakale satyabadbhati. As long as I am dreaming, the dream is real. As long as I am think myself, I am a samsari in the waking state, then this world is also real. Prabodhe satya sadbhaved. So only when I am awakened from the dream world to the waking world, I say the dream world is unreal. Therefore, for me to recognize that this waking world is also unreal, I have to awake myself, or I have to be awakened to the higher state of consciousness. So this is the implication of this sloka. Now the question is, in the dream world, I am getting out of the dream world, leaving my dream body, dream mind and dream intellect, and leaving my dream world itself, I am awakening to the waking world. Therefore, implication is I have to get out of this waking world to go to some other world for me to recognize this waking world is also swapnatulyohi. That's what the implication comes is. But that's not really true. Here, because there is a difference between the waking state and the dream state, has to be understood. In the dream state, I am taking myself as I am, with using the dream body, dream mind and dream intellect. And therefore the dream samsara is there. So as long as the body, mind and intellect of the dream subject is there, I am going through that experience. I cannot awaken myself to the higher state of consciousness while having the dream body, dream mind and dream intellect in the dream state. Why is that? Whereas in this waking state, with the body, with the waking body, with the waking mind and with the waking intellect, I can go to higher state of consciousness without dropping the body, mind, intellect. That's called Jivanmukta. So a Jivanmukta can be possible in the waking state. A Jivanmuktatvam cannot be possible in the dream world. Why is that? So this difference between the waking and the dream world has to be understood. So in the dream world, for me to awaken to the higher state, keeping that body, mind and intellect, I need a viveka. That's why viveka means a discriminative intellect is required to differentiate what is real and what is unreal. When that sense that in the dream state, the intellect is in the low web. Because the intellect is almost folded, only the emotional aspects is projecting together mostly. Therefore, intellect is not sharp enough. If the intellect is very sharp, I won't even go to dream state. So very dream comes only because when my intellect slows down, and it is the expression of predominantly by the mental suppressions and oppressions that are providing the driving force for the dream world. Therefore, the viveka required for realizing in the dream state is not available. Therefore, what we say is one cannot realize in the dream state. Number one. And number two, I can realize in the waking state. I do not have to go to some other state in order to recognize that the waking world is also like a dream. Swapna tulyo hi. I can recognize that while still having this body, this mind, this intellect, while still living in this waking world, I can still recognize, provided I develop by proper means this viveka. Viveka means the discriminative intellect to differentiate or distinguish, to separate what is real and what is unreal. That's exactly required. Why so difficult? Because here the real and unreal are intermixed so intensely, because the unreal is only a superimposition on real. It's not two things together. It is two things appearing as one, as though, and therefore it is appearing as one, but in that one there is real and unreal. Nitya, anitya, together mishramam is there, and I had to separate this together, which is already there, as one by using very subtle intellect. That is what is called chitta suddhi. And I can develop that in the waking state by proper sadhana. Therefore, sadhana is required, karma yoga is required to purify the mind, to develop that, and even the Shastra Shravanam and Mananam is required in order to fine-tune the mind, in order to discriminate what is Nityam and what is Anityam in everything that I am perceiving in the world. Therefore, I can recognize, I don't have to go to higher state, another state, in the waking world itself, using the waking body, mind and intellect, I can develop a discriminative intellect, the viveka, and along with I need a vairagya to eliminate what is unreal and to take what is real. That is called the vairagya, and with that I may be able to recognize my true nature. Then I will understand it is essentially swapna tulyo hi, because it is similar to the dream world. So some of these are very, very short slokas, but very deep analysis is involved, because Shankara is packing Atmabodha to those students who are mature enough. So let's take the next sloka now. Tavat satyam jagat bhati, tavat satyam jagat bhati, suktika rajatam yatha, suktika rajatam yatha, yavanna jnayate brahma, yavanna jnayate brahma, sarvadhisthanamadvayam, sarvadhisthanamadvayam. Together, tavat satyam jagat bhati, suktika rajatam yatha, yavanna jnayate brahma, sarvadhisthanamadvayam. So some of these slokas are very simple, but very, very profound, although he gives an example for us to give or to analyze this. Says, tavat satyam jagat bhati. So as long as jagat bhati satyam, the one that is perceived as the whole universe, that which appears, this world, this entire world that I am seeing through my perception, anumana, all those means of pramanas, I am experiencing this world of plurality, jagat, and as long as I take this world is real, tavat satyam jagat bhati, yavat na jnayate brahma, then until, as long as I am doing it, I am not going to recognize the Brahman. It's a statement. So I cannot have both simultaneously. Yavanna jnayate brahma sarva adhisthana madvayam. So here he is defining what is Brahma here also in this statement. It is sarva adhishtanam advayam. Each word is very profound here. So we'll have to unravel this a little bit. And a clear example here gives, a local example is Suktika Rajatam Yatha. It's one of the famous example where the epistemological analysis involves this. Suktika Rajatam Yatha. Just as I am seeing a silver on a shell. So here a simple model is, as I'm walking on the beach, suddenly I find something shining. Something shining. So a lot of things may be shining, but I think it is silver. And I have a value for silver compared to anything else. So I want to pick it up because I take there is a silver there. So when I get up and pick it up and then look it again, then I realize it is not really silver. It appears to be silver, but it's not really silver. So what is it? It is just a shell. A shell having a silver type of coating is reflecting the light for me to give an impression that it is silver. Why did you say it is silver and not a shell with the silver in the beginning itself? Because my vision is not complete. I am only looking at that which is dominant qualification is coming to me directly because I see shining of the silver immediately. And other attributes of the object that differentiate silver from a shell are not being perceived. So the problem, if you look at this clearly, I am perceiving an object, but I am not perceiving completely the attributes of the object. I am getting a partial attributes of the object, and based on the partial attributes of the object, I am making a judgment that it is silver, because the silver is a dominant attribute. A shining, reflecting is a dominant attribute of the silver, and silveriness that comes out because of the attribute of shining. And therefore I know silver shines and I know it is similar to that. Therefore I consider it is silver because other attributes or properties of that object as shellness of the property of the object is not coming to me yet. Only when I pick it up and look at it carefully, hey, this is a shell and not a silver. So what happened to the silver? There was never a silver there. Then why did I say it's silver? Silver attribute was there, but silver is not there. Real silver is not there. So what is there is a shell. How do you know it is shell? Because it has attributes of a shell that I could recognize based on my previous knowledge of the shell. So therefore, by having a new additional attribute information, when I went to transact it with the picked it up and look at it more carefully, I got additional attributes which remind me that it is not really silver but a shell. Now you see how a Brahma and a Parama is involved in this. Brahma is a right knowledge. Pramana is a means of knowledge. Pramata is the one who is trying to know. And Prameyam is the object of knowledge. These are analysis. But here, the process Pramana has to operate to know for me it is silver. And Pramana operates only through sense objects, through the attributes. Senses gather the attributes and provide the information to the mind. Based on the attributes, I attribute that, all those attributes to an object, because there cannot be attributes without an object. So all this is analysis will go on in the mind for me to know what that object is. If the attributes are not representative of the object that is coming, because suppose I am color blind and I see some colors which is not really there, or don't see the colors which are there, therefore I may make a wrong judgment about the object. So therefore the defectiveness of the senses can be a problem in perceiving the reality of the object. So the pramana is not operating properly. And the other cases is other conducive environmental things are also not properly there for my pramana to operate. For example, the same famous example of the rope and snake, because it's not bright enough for me that it is a rope. It is semi-dark and I'm only seeing some attributes of both rope and a snake. So adrishyam is there. There is a similarity because based on the similar attributes, and based on the attributes only I make a judgment that it is either a rope or a snake. But since I am afraid of a snake, I say it is a snake to be for my self-security. Therefore, if you look at the whole process, I can get prama, that is knowledge, provided my attributes that I gather is a true representation or true reflection of the attributes of the object out there. And when the senses gather the information, mind makes a judgment based on the sense input. So this is all involved in the epistemology of this process. I'm giving just a background so that we have to analyze this a little bit more carefully, because this same error of superimposition occurs when I take myself the world is real. This is called adhyasa. It is error of superimposition. And this statement here, because we'll analyze again next class more carefully. So, stavat satyam jagat bhati. As long as I take myself, this world is real. Means transactional real. And yavat na jayate brahma. So until then, I will not be recognizing the absolute nature that is pervading, all pervading Brahman. Who is that Brahman? Sarva adhishtanam advayam. That which is non-dual, but most important is sarva adhishtanam. It is there in every object that I am perceiving as adhishtanam, is the very supporting things, that because of which the object is, without which the object is not there. So the very existence of the object is due to that. So in Taittiriya Upanishad, yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayamti abhisham vishanti tad vijnasasva tad brahmeti. That is Brahman, from which the whole world came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. So this requires a little bit lot more analysis. We will do it again in the next class, or it is next Sunday at 9:30 to 10:30 of the Eastern Standard Time. We will do Purnamadaha now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.